Am I the a-hole for telling my cousin that she's the reason my husband and I have reconsidered adoption? I, 33 female, have had fertility issues for the past couple of years with my husband, 35 male. We went through with consultations, and while we had very promising results for treatment, the cost did give us pause. It wasn't that we couldn't afford it, we just weren't at the point yet where we were willing to pay. I discussed it with my husband and we were both fine with the idea of adopting. My cousin Tiffany, 25 female, is adopted and she supported our choice in looking into it. However, this was a couple of years back, and during that time Tiffany was reunited with her birth parents and she's been acting pretty hurtful to my aunt and uncle since then. She keeps making posts about how happy she is to know where she comes from and is happy about being reunited with her real family. She even talked about having her birth father walk her down the aisle as a chance to make up for lost time. Obviously my uncle was very hurt about this, but when he voiced it, Tiffany got defensive. She called my uncle selfish, how this was about her and that he knew what he signed up for when raising someone else's kid. Before the pandemic, Tiffany moved closer to where her bio mother lived so they could make up for lost time, and Tiffany kept making post after post about all the fun she was having meeting relatives, and how she called/video chatted with each of her bio parents multiple times a week. Meanwhile, she barely texted back my uncle and aunt once a month. I could tell how heartbroken my aunt and uncle were, but tried to give Tiffany her space, and the few times they said anything she accused them of being selfish and unsupportive. I think the biggest thing that broke them was when Tiffany promised to come by for my aunt's birthday. COVID restrictions were lifted, and was even given the money to travel to them, but then never showed up. She called literally the day before to say that her bio mom had an emergency so she wasn't going to make it, but didn't give back the money. I am completely disgusted by Tiffany's behavior, and while I haven't completely ruled out adoption entirely, I did want to give medical-assisted conception a try. My husband supported this and we are now currently expecting. After we made our announcement, Tiffany messaged me asking why I would spend thousands on creating a child when I could help one who already existed. I tried to play it off, but Tiffany kept pressing and calling me a bad person when there are so many children who desperately need a home and overpopulation. It got to the point where she was pissing me off, and I just came clean and said that her behavior towards the people who loved and raised her was the reason. Tiffany got really upset, but I didn't care. However, her parents are now starting to say that I was wrong, so am I the a-hole? And if you keep pushing for a different answer than the one given, you need to be prepared to have some hard truths tossed in your face. It's obvious when people like Tiffany push, they expect the person they're arguing with to concede. What they don't realize is if the other person is like Op, not a liar and not prone to giving in to bullies, they're going to get the answer they deserve. NTA, Op. And honestly, I'd be surprised if anyone else in the family besides Tiffany's parents are upset you said what you said. Honestly, it sounds like it was a long time coming. Congrats on your little one, Op. For another take on this, I can see this possibly working out poorly for Tiffany. What happened that she ended up being adopted in the first place? That's a heck of a lot of time to be absent and come waltzing back in like you say by her bio parents. Maybe they are big manipulators and their habits of the past will come back, and all the past will come back with a vengeance. Tiffany sounds like the negatives of bio parents are more prevalent now in her demeanor than her adoptive parents' positives. She was NTA at all. Personally, Tiffany should be ashamed of herself with how poorly she has treated her adoptive parents. And the older children are generally up for adoption because either something happened to their birth parents and there is no one else to look after them, so they are probably bringing issues from trauma with them. Or they're up for adoption because the child has issues the birth family couldn't deal with. Which is not to say older children don't deserve adoption, they absolutely do. But you're generally signing on for a whole bunch of hard work over and above simply raising kids. We are adopting a 9-year-old out of foster care. It is so hard. The older kids in the system are going to be traumatized, which often causes odd and inappropriate behaviors, including oppositional and defiant behaviors. It's much harder than I expected to bond with a child who has behavioral problems, but we're doing the best we can. We're only 2 months in, so we're giving it time. But it's hard. It's not easy. Don't do it unless you are up for the challenge. There are often gaps in their education due to being bounced around multiple foster homes and schools. Our daughter cannot read or do basic addition and subtraction. She barely knows her alphabet and numbers. She has multiple learning disabilities and delays likely due to being exposed to drugs in utero. Another thing adoptive parents need to remember: when you adopt an older child, that child remembers their bio family and will long to be reunited with them. They will be grieving the loss of their bio parents. The bio family, for better or worse, will always be in your life one way or another, even if you're no contact. My daughter is going through a lot and talks about her bio family pretty much non-stop and has developed some odd coping mechanisms, making up stories to try and involve her bio family in her present life. Like if we're fishing, she'll tell us a story about fishing with her bio family. Over time we've realized that most of these stories are not true. She's admitted that she's trying to create memories with them with these stories. Basically, we are living in her bio family's shadow. It's okay. We signed up for that and we're helping her process these confusing emotions in therapy. But a lot of people don't think about those things when they... Oh, no worries. I am not discouraged. I have friends who went through the foster care system, 2 were adopted and 1 aged out. They've been very open and honest about their experiences. I also follow a few foster families on Facebook, and one of my many thesis papers was over the foster adoptive systems in the US. I've read a lot of people's stories, but the ones that I feel provide me with the most perspective are the ones that aren't sugar-coated. I encourage you to continue to share your experiences because people like me find a lot of value in them. I'm really glad she has a therapist and that you're taking their advice. It's good to have someone outside the family dynamic who can provide insight. I hope you continue to have progress and that today was the start of many more, even better days. I 100% could not handle that, which is something puts me off adoption. I worked with many students who experienced trauma/adverse childhood experiences and I couldn't handle it. I found the behavior challenges emotionally and mentally exhausting. I also don't think I could handle the heartbreak of a child I loved and raised abandoning our family for their birth family. I have a few cousins who are adopted and they are nothing like Tiffany. But there is always a risk. That's one factor that might push me to the child-free side of the fence. Adoption seems to have so many risks versus having a kid, but pregnancy kinda freaks me out, woman shrugging. I'm glad that there are families out there like you who are equipped to handle these sorts of issues and complex family structures. I hope your daughter does well. NTA, even though it wasn't a nice thing to say, you're still right. It's the truth. Why would you wanna adopt a kid if they could end up like her? She's ungrateful and selfish. She abandoned the set of parents who love her and gave her a good life all these years for some people she barely knows just because they're her real parents. I think her real parents are the ones who raised her and taught her everything she knows. She doesn't know her bio parents from Adam and they could easily be a part of a cannibal cult. You were definitely in the right to say what you said. I'm wishing you good luck with the fertility situation. I am hoping you're able to have a healthy child or adopt one who will love you forever. I can understand the pull to want to get to know your parents. Really, where my brain gets stuck is that she's posting about how amazing her real family is, but leaving the posts visible to her adopted family. The fact that she don't make a filter that removes them so they don't have to see her do this seems just straight up callous to me. NTA. She pushed and pushed, she got the truth.